I think it's going to be a breakthrough technique for people with addictions and mental illness, that we have such an epidemic with mental problems and self-doubt.
To me, it's very action-oriented. It's very much about creating a solution rather than just talking about how you're feeling and talking about how you're feeling, but not necessarily coming up with a game plan on how you're going to change that behavior.
Takes up less time. It goes straight to the heart of the matter or the logic of the matter.
There's nothing weird about it. You don't have to talk about issues with your parents from when you were 3. Like, it's really straightforward.
You know, the first time that I actually experienced BWRT, I didn't really think much about it. And I was actually introduced to it by my great uncle Keith, who was a BWRT practitioner at the time. He just like called me up and says, "I got a therapy I want to show you." Like, he was just really excited. And I was like, "Yeah, sure, come on over." Starting to talk, and I learned a little bit about it from him. And we started to go to work. Been struggling with being in job interviews. And like, I don't know what it was. It was just each time I would go to the job interview, I would just like freeze up. I didn't know what to say. I couldn't articulate, and I couldn't say what I knew that I knew. He asked me, "Well, how do you want to react? How do you want to feel?" And I thought about that. I was like, well, it's a good question. And so I decided, you know what, when I go into a job interview, I want to feel confident. I want to be articulate. I wanted to feel confident that, yes, I can do this job and I can prove it to you. We did BWRT. About like 15 minutes later, the anxious feeling was just gone. So an opportunity came, and this interview that I did was actually in a panel of interviewers. It was actually my first time that I actually had multiple interviewers in the same room at the same time, and I was just like, crap. But I went in there and I was able to answer all their questions. I was articulate, I was confident, and I was able to present myself very well. Granted, I didn't really get the job, but beside the fact, I nailed that interview. That's exactly what I wanted to happen. That was the first time that actually happened. Out of all the other interviews, then after BWRT, it just changed. It was really remarkable for me.
I wanted to work on my fear of being on camera or just being seen by a lot of people. Beforehand, whenever I would think about getting in front of people or people seeing me, my face would get red and flushed, and I reached out to get this fear under control because I had an opportunity to be on live television. So I had to overcome this fear for my business. It went really well. I'm impressed with how calm and collected I was, and it was a good experience.
My main focus was focusing on budgeting. I have an aversion to it, or had an aversion to it. Every time I sit down to it to get started, I was resistant, would find something else to do or get distracted. I don't know that I have a clear description of it, but basically I can sit down and do it. I don't sit down and then decide to do something else because, I don't know, there's a little bit more focus there, a little bit more, motivation's not the right word, commitment maybe, more commitment to it.
So BWRT is actually very unique, that it actually works with the very early part of the brain, the reptilian complex. And what this part of this brain does is that it's basically a pattern matrix. It's always looking for patterns in our circumstances. And so as we grow up in life, as we have certain experiences, the reptilian complex is always checking and looking and testing to see, okay, how should we react in this situation? And it creates a neural pathway that fires up that response. And granted, maybe in that time or in that circumstance, that reaction was good and valid. And so it basically says to the brain, hey, this worked. we're safe. Now, sometimes as we go through life and have more experiences, that reaction is probably not valid anymore or is unwanted, that we just don't want to feel that certain way anymore. And so what BWRT does is that it allows us to work with those neural pathways within the brain and to literally change or create new neural pathways for us to respond in the way that we want to react or the way that we want to feel in those certain circumstances.
I had a really heavily involved relationship I was trying to let go. I didn't see much change in myself before and after. I had been apart from this person. He's in another state, and so I didn't have to interact with him. So there wasn't really anything that I could test in the moment until I took a trip back to California. When I was finally able to test the BWRT and interact with this person again, I've since described it to other people that it's been a scientific miracle that I've been able to interact with someone who I was previously completely tied up with. I'm like, wow, I should be bothered, but I'm not. And this is really weird because of all this other time that I've interacted with this person, and it's been very different than what I'm experiencing now. So there was definitely a change in my body and my thinking, how I reacted to the situation.
So BWRT can actually work with a lot of things. I've actually worked with some people who have been wanting to lose weight, anxieties, fears, phobias. You can work on habits, you can work on eating disorders, OCD, PTSD. Like, there's actually a lot of things that you can work on with BWRT.
What I wanted to work on was my anxiety. I enjoyed doing it through Skype. I was in the comfort of my own home. I didn't have to go anywhere for it. I just said, I'll Skype with you at this time, and it was super easy. Didn't have to really even get ready for the day. Just showed up and dealt with my anxiety, so it was great.
I mean, it was simpler than I was expecting, I guess, if that makes sense. It wasn't weird, I guess. It was less weird than I was anticipating that it would be. It was just fairly straightforward. Just you come up with things that you want to change and then figure out what you want to change them to, and then you do it, and it was pretty cool.
I would say it was very different in that I wasn't like divulging all of my feelings and like all of the things that have happened to me in my life. So that was definitely different. With the BWRT, really didn't require any of that, which was fantastic. It took me one session to really deal with the bulk of the anxiety. I did do a second one, but it was just to deal with like little things, and it was very quick. So
not even a complete session. I would say most of a session, a 1-hour session.
It was 2, once at the night before and then once in the morning right before the interview.
So as far as working on budgeting, I've just had 1 session of BWRT and already noticing an improvement.
If you feel that BWRT is right for you, give us a call. And what we do is that we give new people a free consultation where we'll be able to talk about what you would want to achieve, what you want to work on, and then explain to you how BWRT works. And if it's right for you, great. And if you feel that BWRT isn't right for you after the initial consultation, that's fine. We'll be able to set you up with someone else who will be able to help you. But you never know. BWRT just might be the right thing for you to get rid of your challenges. All that you need to do is to ask yourself, how do I want to feel? What do I want to accomplish? How do I want to be?